Welcome back, bigots. Have I got a roller coaster ride for you today? I recently replied to one of Legacy Killer HD's comments, that being Michael, thinking I simplistically yet adequately explained the phenomenon of people phenotyping, or, that is, judging someone else by their appearance when it comes to this picture right here. These three Bethesda ladies have worked at Bethesda for roughly 20 years. However, some gamers saw two of the ladies' hairstyles, that being their dyed hair, and assumed that these ladies were up to some DEI shenanigans. This is where I come in. I tried to quell this hysteria by explaining that most gamers are going to leap to the DEI conclusion based upon the dyed hair. Why? Because most liberals within the video game industry have a certain look. They have a certain appearance, and dyed hair is one of the contributing wardrobe choices that has become a pattern. All I was stating was that people have become accustomed to seeing liberals look a certain way, and there are examples of this. Allow me to show you. Dyed hair, bull nose ring, oversized glasses that must weigh half a pound, t-shirts with, let's say Antifa logos, or basically any liberal-leaning political messaging on their clothes, such as, say, a pride flag. Their wardrobe choices are like a uniform, are they not? They are clear patterns for how they dress and how they look. Again, you don't have to like what I'm saying, but there is truth in what I am describing. These are patterns in their appearance. Since Michael thinks I have no idea what I'm talking about, let's play a little game together. I'm going to show some pictures of people, and based upon their appearance and clothing options, I want you to tell me who you think they are. Number 1. Is this person a doctor, a fireman, a waiter, or a police officer? That's right, boys and girls. We have ourselves a police officer. Let's go for number 2. Is this person a fireman, a doctor, a chef, or a Walmart clerk? That's right. If you chose fireman, you are correct again. Let's go for a third one. In this picture, here is a person that could be possibly a congressman, or woman if you prefer, a plumber, an SJW, or a meter maid. That's right. That's a social justice warrior. Way to go, team. Now, before anyone tells me I'm making terrible comparisons because the first two pictures clearly illustrate professions that require uniforms, I'm more than happy to present to you non-professionals with pictures that I know you'll be able to assume what or who they are based upon how they look. That is to help emphasize my argument. Let's have some more fun. Who would you say this person is, or what do they do? A skateboarder, right? The skateboard itself is a dead giveaway. But his style, the way he dresses, could indicate that he is a skater. This is doubly true if you look at his shoes. If you are a skateboarder, like me, you begin to pay closer attention to people's shoes. If the base of the shoes seem ripped up, or their t-shirts contain skateboarding product placement, it would be safe to assume that they are indeed skateboarders. Now, since the first round of multiple choice questions was tons of fun, I say we go for round 2. This time, these questions will be a bit more direct, and we'll remove the multiple choice aspect of these pictures. This is free range, folks. Put on your thinking caps. Which president do you think this person voted for? Gee, what gave it away? Was it something he was wearing? Perhaps maybe the Trump hat? Maybe it was the t-shirt. Okay, here's another one. Which candidate do you think this person voted for? I think it's safe to assume they certainly didn't vote for Trump. Now, I think I proved my point here, Michael. I think it's safe to say we all make judgments given certain clues, and those clues can be apparel or fashion trends. So it's time for you and everyone else to stop pretending that we all don't make assumptions as to who a person is by their attire. This is what happened with the three Bethesda ladies. Gamers leaped to a conclusion based upon previous experience and patterns we have all seen since Zoe Quinn. And yes, occasionally, gamers might make a judgment that is faulty. But let's not pretend liberals have never done that before. Finally, I could not believe the insufferable, drool-dripping amounts of idiocy coming from the replies I received. Every single person responding in the exact same way as they passionately misinterpreted what I had said. And even after I generously explained that I was not defending gamers' judgment per se, but explaining how they came to the conclusions they did, I was still met with a level of paint chip eating stupidity that would befuddle a goat. Look at what my first reply to Michael was. I clearly said, patterns aren't boring. Michael, we notice patterns, and when we see those patterns, we warn others about those patterns. Now, here's the important part that I really wanted Michael to pay attention to, but for some reason he just glossed over this. Because this is the next part I'm about to read, is me agreeing with Michael. Listen closely. This does not mean that the Elder Scrolls 6 will be bad for certainty. But it does lend to the credibility of the patterns we have been witnessing for years. Stop pretending like these patterns don't exist, Michael. And I meant it. I even agreed with the guy, but he just could not seem to reason. In my opening reply to Michael, I admitted, I agreed with the guy that some gamers may have jumped to conclusions. Absolutely. Did Michael notice that? No. He only read the word patterns, and he even retyped patterns in quotes. That's how I know he didn't read, or his reading comprehension is terrible. I don't know if he read my entire comment, or if his reading comprehension is abysmal. I'm not sure which one it is. And I'm not sure which one's worse. But he only read the word patterns, and immediately went ballistic because he cannot tolerate independent thought, let alone nuanced thought. Michael decides to dig his grave a little deeper, as he responds with this. Patterns. Please shut the F up. The only pattern is that they're female. Literally. No, not literally. As I mentioned, the dyed hair is a chief concern. But I'll continue anyway. The Elder Scrolls 6 has issues that are largely in the hands of Todd and Emil. Nothing to do with 20-year vet artists and a production director. Again, I have no issues with the bottom part of his statement. In fact, I agree with the guy. But he seems to ignore the patterns, because the patterns is what humiliates him the most, I think. Now, I had to take Michael to school once again, as I carefully articulated the situation with his response, which is this. No, I will not shut the F up. I will continue to notice patterns and warn others of those patterns. Dyed hair, white, probably liberal women. I wonder how many rainbow flags and pronouns are in their bios. Would you like me to do the minimal amount of research and look that up for you, Michael? Now, let me explain something. The reason I typed this message is because I was describing, yet again, that there are certain appearances that gamers have become familiar with and will use what they are familiar with to make conclusions about people. And more importantly, we have noticed that when we see those particular fashion trends within people in the industry, gamers have gone straight to their accounts and found pronouns in their bios and all kinds of other red flags. I'm not saying I definitely would have seen that in the three Bethesda ladies' profiles. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's a certainty for them, but I am saying it's a pattern. Michael then aims to try to humiliate me by telling me I can't spell his name right, after I spelled his name correctly twice. But heaven forbid that I misspell his name in my third response. Yeah, I accidentally swapped the A and the E. Oh no, Michael, you really owned me there. You took me out to the shack on that one. Now, my final response to Michael ended with this. I don't really care how you spell your name, but nice attempt at a gotcha. Even if these particular women are not directly responsible for their wokeness, I emphasized again, and DEI agenda within Bethesda, it is people who look like this. Stereotypes are created for a reason because there is truth within stereotypes, unpleasant as it might be. Again, we have noticed patterns in the gaming industry that lend credibility to the DEI agenda, and we have found that people who look like the three women in the picture are prime suspects in the DEI push. Call it collateral damage if you want, but I will still be highly suspicious of people that look like the women in the picture. Now, I openly admit I should have started my last response to Michael with something other than my first line. Now that I have admitted that, can Michael admit he's wrong? I bet not. As I have said multiple times, and to multiple high-profile accounts, I might add, the style, the wardrobe choice of the three Bethesda women is what sparked the suspicion. Thus, the conclusion some gamers jumped to was in direct response to their appearance. It sparked suspicion because gamers are used to seeing people who dress like that, who hold specific political views that are in opposition to most gamers. I'm not saying that gamers who jumped to those conclusions were correct, again, per se. All I am saying is, I understand, and so should you, about why that happened. Whether the gamers' suspicions harbor merit or not is beside the point. All I did was point out what was happening and why it was happening. As a consequence, people without the sense that God gave geese attempted to dogpile me in the replies. These people are unable to acknowledge why this happened, and that's the problem. They are unable to venture into any kind of nuanced thought. Everything must be black and white, and life simply isn't that simple. But leave it to the simple-minded to come to that conclusion. That's all the time I have for today. Do all the happy, fun, social stuff. You can always find me on Gab. Find me on the Twitter, or now it's considered X. I'm also on Odyssey. Like and subscribe. Comment below whether you agree or disagree. If you think I have holes in my argument, point them out to me, and I will respond. Until next time, have fun.